Did you get bad advice that could kill your tech career? Bad advice will stifle your tech career. But the problem is that bad advice and good advice look the same. Probably the worst thing that can happen is that bad advice will hold back your growth and slow down your career progression. In this video, I'll share with you my mental model that will help you spot bad advice so it doesn't kill your tech career. Meta here. Let's talk about advice. There's a ton of it everywhere, so how do you spot it and take only the good stuff? The key is to get meta about it and to examine the context around where and how the advice is given. This video is applicable to career advice you might receive via a mentor-mentee relationship, blog posts, and books. Optimally, you want to find people that are one or two career progressions further than where you want to be. Let's apply that advice right now. So Meta, why should I listen to your advice? I'm a principal engineer at Amazon, so if you're an engineer or work in tech and want to be a senior staff or principal, my advice may be relevant to you. If you want to be a movie star, maybe don't listen to me. It sounds simple, but you should avoid people that never achieve the success you seek. They should generally look happy, and from what you can tell, are not toxic to folks that work around them. You should be impressed on some level. They should have seen success in giving this type of advice as well. In my case, I've helped dozens of folks get promoted, as well as guided folks to make role changes to software engineering. Next, consider the scope of advice people give. Advice that is too detailed or prescriptive is not useful. If you could checklist your way to a promotion, everybody would be the CEO. You also want to watch out for pithy and inspirational phrases without substance. It's okay if you hear them, but if the only thing you hear is work smarter, not harder, without any explanation for what it means, that's a swerve for me. You ever notice that people that post inspirational quotes on social media aren't your most successful friends? I found the Goldilocks zone for the scope of advice for a career progression is the communication of a frame or mental model coupled with a persuasive rationale for why that model leads to success. Something like, I would focus on gaining and demonstrating skills in areas of expertise that your organization is sorely lacking in or highly values, and aggressively cutting out the rest so you don't waste your time. To be good advice, and the type of advice I give to folks. If you want to know what I mean by that, and want more good advice, hit the subscribe button below. Back to meta advice. The reason I like the mental model approach to advice is that by taking the model and adding the person's individual situation, you generate a set of target goals and actions. You want to stay away from advice that's overly specific, even if it was successful for that person. Grind leak code questions until your soul has been milled into a fine dust. Use this soul flour and bake a loaf of bread that represents your expertise in machine learning and the language Python. Take this loaf on a journey that involves habitually finding the most senior person on the team and tearing them a new one with code review feedback, even if there are no issues with it. Finally, turn this soul bread into a promotion sandwich by creating yet another JavaScript framework nobody asked for, but that you force everybody to use. Related to the size and scope of advice is whether it is advice at all. The story of how they became successful isn't advice, it's how they became successful. This is easy to spot if the secret of their success can be attributed to luck. A good way to suss out whether the advice is applicable to you is if the advisor knows enough about you to tailor their advice to your situation. If they didn't so much as ask what sort of experiences you've encountered, you might be in the autobiographical advice group. This is also why approaches like over-emulating a successful person is a trap. It doesn't follow that you will be successful if you robotically do the specific things that that person did. Finally, you should make the observation people will give a mix of good and bad advice. So it's not necessary to take all advice someone gives you. Someone that is divorced may give really good advice on how to spot relationship red flags. Maybe I wouldn't listen too much to the advice regarding how to cultivate a successful relationship. It makes sense to strengthen your advice filtering muscle by employing some amount of hypothesis testing. The distinguishing characteristic of good advice is that it pays off in the long run. If it doesn't, update your mental model and try again. I hope that this meta advice was useful. If it was, please hit the like button and subscribe. See you next time, there's more to come.